Good morning, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards. And today is part 2 of the Phil Rizzuto episode. If you recall from last week, our esteemed guest, Andrea, went through mostly cards, a little bit of memorabilia, and striking amount of items, and we've got an even better show today because we've got all the unique items from Andrea's collection that you will never see again except here. As you recall, Phil Rizzuto, Yankee legend, Hall of Famer. I'm not going to go through the bio, but we're going to go right to our guest and welcome back to the show. Andrea, how are you this morning?
Good. How are you?
Probably the same as you were for the first part, because through the magic of doing things in pieces, we're recording on the same day, which is why we both have the same shirt.
Same clothes on.
You got Phil. I got Mercer, and I said off camera, Mercer's number 1 to me because when he played, he was my favorite player in the early 70s, and he wore number 1. And then when he rejoined the Yankees in 1979, Billy Martin had taken back number 1, so they gave Mercer number 2. So I'm always offended when people have a Mercer 2 jersey because that shows that they're not OGs of the Mercer fandom. But so we're going to go back to the slides and go through some items here. And this one, gentleman next to you in this picture.
That's my dad.
And so the car has, of course, Yankee pinstripes and the Yankee.
Yes, it also had Yankee autographs on it. If you had seen the hood, Yankees would come and go if they were doing autograph shows, and they would sign it. I don't know whose car it was, but I said to Dad, "Let's go take a picture by it," and we did.
And which bridge is that?
I think it's the Brooklyn Bridge.
Okay.
My dad would go anywhere I needed to go because in the bag that I'm carrying, inside a Ziploc, like a traveling soup carrier, is my Yankee jacket. And whenever I would go to a show for an autograph with that jacket, my dad would come, kind of like my personal bodyguard. So I wouldn't be alone walking out with it. He'd say, "No, I'll go with you, honey." And off we'd go. Connecticut, Rhode Island, Brooklyn. My dad would come. So.
And I guess
and the date on this is November 1st of 98. So I'm married about a year and a half, and my dad was still going with me.
He had an effect on you, I guess, becoming a baseball fan.
Very first game I went to, my mom's golden rule was if my dad took my older brother somewhere, that was fine as long as I went too. And we went to Yankee Stadium, and you came up out of the tunnel, those old catacombs. And you walk up the tunnel, and it was the white facade, the green grass, the blue sky, and I was hooked. I fell in love with it. It was phenomenal.
It's not an uncommon experience that gets related. The first time you enter up the stairs and you see this thing that you've only seen on television before, and in real life, it takes your breath away. It's really something special, and if that's a memory that your dad gave you, then that's terrific. And I just wanted to make this the first one because we all have stories of family connections, and I've always felt that the hobby was represented a few things for me. One was the beauty of the cards, the art, the history of the game, the history of America. And of course, the most important thing is a connection to your family. So parts of my collection are not just my personal likes, but things that are important as a sort of a bigger part of my family. So for you to have your dad here in this photo, I think is really special. And, I'm happy to have it be the first one that we put out. So he wasn't just a dad in 1998. He was a guy who served our country.
My dad was in the Navy for 38 and a half years, 4 years active duty in the Korean War, and 34 and a half years in Naval Reserve Intelligence. He retired as a captain. And that's my dad. I believe the back of the photo was 1962 in Philadelphia. He's the tall guy on the far right.
Mm-hmm.
And I had said to him, Dad, that's Roberto Clemente. Did you get his autograph? And he said, no, people didn't do that back then.
Yeah.
But I have the card, and my dad wrote on the back, the date, and it was like Philadelphia Navy Day, and I've kept it all these years. I treasure it, actually. And then someone asked me who the Philadelphia Philly player was, and I don't know because I'm not a Phillies fan. So I asked a card dealer here in the Allentown area. I gave him a copy of the card, and I said, could you do me a favor and research and let me know who it is? Because there's not even a number on the front of the jersey. And a couple of weeks later, I ran into him at like a mall card show, when you go into the local mall on a Friday night. And he gave me a card, and he said, that's Don Hoke. And he gave me the card. I kept it. It's in the back of the photo. So now I know who both players are, but it's my dad on the right. So
He, if you remember, I had the Phil Rizzuto card, not card, but photo from my grandfather going to spring training. He didn't get autographs of any of those people anyway. And the sad part about it is one of the other players in one of the other photos is Paul Wainer, who's a Hall of Famer. So that would have been a nice autograph to have.
Oh,
so.
yeah.
They didn't do it. But yeah, Roberto Clemente. That is a special, unique item that has both historical, artistic, and family connections. So good for you having
Thank
that. So here's your pride and joy.
It's my pride and joy. Aside from the 52 Coke tips.
But this, so I'm not going to ask you to do every autograph, but there's got to be some biggies on here, right?
Mickey's in the top right above the interlocking NY. He signed it Mickey Mantle number 7. Joe DiMaggio refused to sign it. I did take it to a show at the Meadowlands, and at that time he was not signing articles of clothing, which I was kind of disappointed at because it wasn't a single signed item like his would be the only autograph. There's people on there like Gene Woodling and Phil Linz and Mickey Rivers and Horace Clark. It's players I've watched. So he didn't want to sign it. I was like, okay, to me, the value is all the other players on it.
Yeah.
So I was disappointed, but the first person to sign it was Catfish Hunter. He's across. He and Phil were at a high school gymnasium in New Jersey. And Catfish was first simply because when you went up on the stage for the autographs, Catfish was first and Scooter was second. So.
And there on the right is the close-up of Scooter.
Then there's Yogi Berra, Don Larson, Hank Bauer, Jerry Coleman, Pat Kelly. Ron Bloomberg is also there. He was my heartthrob when he came up and was the first DH in the American League. I saw him years later at an autograph show, and he's, slightly, thinning out on the top. I was like, wow, you've changed. But
Bloomberg is on Twitter. I don't know if you know this.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's on Twitter. He came on. He opened his account a few years ago, and he wrote a book with, I believe, the artist Dan Epstein. It's about his relationship with Thurman Munson, and I think it's called Captain and Me.
Yes, I think I have it. I think I have it upstairs.
And Bloomberg was he's very friendly on Twitter. He was, obviously, I think he was probably promoting a book, but he also, answered a lot of questions. He did a few, ask me anything kind of things. And so, very entertaining guy. And I'm glad he signed for you because you got, I wouldn't
There
ask.
are 95 signatures on the jacket.
Yeah.
I think the oldest player was Spec Shea from 47. And then on the back shoulder is Mel Allen and Eddie Layton.
Wow.
They didn't want to sign on the front and take up valuable real estate, so they signed on the back. And Eddie Layton, as you know, was the organist at Yankee Stadium.
Right. Is the jacket still, is it retired, or have you brought it to shows recently?
No, I just took it in February. I hadn't been out of the house in years. But there was an autograph show in New Jersey at American Dream, right at the Meadowlands, and I got Hideki Matsui. Trying to think who all was there. I got 5 autographs that day. Trying to remember who caught David Wells' perfect game.
I think it was. Was it not?
Matty Noakes was there. Yes, I got Matt Noakes. He signed right near where David Wells is on the jacket. The right-hand sleeve opposite of the interlocking NY is the 96 World Series championship team.
Nice.
So the top left corner is Joe Torre, and then down that sleeve is Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, Andy Pettitte.
There was a autograph show. It was a card show, but it was mostly autographs. It was called Pinstripe Pride.
Yeah.
Off of Route 80 in Jersey. I don't know, maybe 10, 15 miles west of the bridge. And it was 2019 because it was pre-COVID. And Reggie was there, Winfield, Lou Piniella, Sparky Lyle, Roy White. It was really quite an impressive group of former Yankees. Even Aaron Boone was there. I don't know. Did you get to go to that?
I didn't go to 2019 because most of the players you mentioned I already had on the jacket.
Yeah.
So the jacket started before I was married, so we're talking pre-1997.
Right.
And back in the day, they would do the Yankee Fan Fest.
Right.
And I did all of them except the first one, which was the one to go to because Mantle was there, Whitey Ford was there, Joe D was there. But from Fan Fest 2 through 7, I went to all of them and brought the jacket with me.
Well, should be your pride and joy because it is a remarkable piece.
I do love it. A friend is currently making me a custom display cabinet in my office.
Oh, nice.
But it's going to be so that I can still take the jacket out because there's always going to be someone that you want to have sign it.
Yep. So you spoke of your office, and I guess you gave me some photos.
That's my office.
There are more. So I guess it's sort of your, as I said at the very beginning of this, the female population is not very well represented in the hobby. So these things get to be called man caves, but in this case, it's a woman cave.
Yeah.
So good for you.
People come to the house and they go in and they say, "Wow, Brian, is this all yours?"
Oh.
And they'll say, "No, that's Andrea's office."
That's a little painful. As a father of 2 daughters, one of whom played sports at a high level, I'm a little bit sensitive to that. So, yeah. So this is these are, I guess that's like a bookcase with.
That's a bookcase. It was in my parents' attic. It was my dad's.
Oh, nice.
And now it's here. And the bottom row is baseball books. I do love to read. The second shelf up is a few of my autographed baseballs. And then the shelf above that has the Coke tips, the autographed Keds sneaker. I also have a signed Hall of Fame invitation. It's on the far right. I picked that up at a show, and of course, Rizzuto signed it. And then the shelf above that is more autographed baseballs. There's 2 mitts in there. And then the top is a Yankee birdhouse, because everyone needs a Yankee birdhouse. An autographed ball, a Yankee ball, not, it's got the Yankee emblem on it with his stats, Phil Rizzuto stats engraved on the back. And then an old 1950s pennant, which you can't really see all that well. A seat back, a number 1 seat back from Yankee Stadium that's been autographed by the Scooter. The mitt on the right in the case is signed by Rizzuto. The mitt on the left is Gil McDougall.
Nice.
Yeah, and then way at the top is a signed by Phil, a Yankee pennant. And then some baseball games.
Some of this stuff we're going to see close-ups of. Who is the, I guess is that a Mantle on the steps?
That, on that wall is Mantle. That
Right.
was the front of it's a lithograph of what was the menu cover at his restaurant in New York City.
Oh, okay.
My brother-in-law and I would go to opening day and then take the subway and go to lunch at Mickey Mantle's restaurant at Central Park South. And I went in the one day and they were for sale, already framed.
Nice.
There were 777 made, and signed by both Mickey and the artist. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to take that. That's a nice piece. And they shipped it to my home. Back then, it was the walloping price was $400. And I was like, well, just pay it off a little bit at a time.
That's a lot for back then.
Yeah, but I just thought it was it's a great shot of Mickey. You can see the facade, the bat on his shoulder, and I just thought it was nice.
Yeah, well, I can tell you now, it's probably worth 5 times that.
Well, it's funny because when my son was younger, I like to tell this story. The Phillies were in the World Series, and Matthew was maybe first, second, third grade. And he said to me the one day, he said, "Mom, when you die, who gets the Mickey Mantle in your office?" And I looked at him and I said, "If you keep cheering for the Phillies, your sister gets it all." And he hasn't cheered for the Phillies since. He is a diehard Yankee fan now.
Oh, good. So he didn't have any conflict in the 2009 World Series when they played the Phillies.
No, he was rooting for the Yankees.
He was all Yankees. Good.
He's all Yankees.
Well, you bribed him into being a fan.
No, he's pretty diehard now.
All good Yankee fans. So here's more office.
Correct.
I guess the bats, are they signed?
That bat is signed just by Phil. It's a Holy Cow, Phil Rizzuto, big stick. And then the bat on the left is the Cooperstown, the Hall of Fame induction bat.
Right.
I did one of those crazy things with my friend Anthony, and we slept out overnight on lawn chairs because they have a limited number of bats. And then, of course, had both him and Steve Carlton sign it. And the bat you don't see that's in the middle, there's a 96 World Series team bat that's autographed in here.
Were you there when Carlton signed it?
Every autograph I've gotten personally. So Steve Carlton does a lot of shows in the Philadelphia area, and when you live near Allentown, you can do quite a few shows.
I did. My autograph focus is the 1970 top set. I have about half the set autographed now at this point. It's a lot of cards. And I had Carlton sign, and I did it in person in Westchester in 2018 or 19. And he signs with his right hand, which I was shocked at. The signing kind of slowed down at that point. And I expected Carlton to be kind of a little bit distant because of his reputation. The guy was wonderful. So I had time to talk to him and his agent or whoever his handler was there. And I'm like, "Mr. Carlton, your nickname was Lefty. How are you signing with your right hand?" And they got a kick out of this, and he talked about it. And so as a lefty, I know that the generation before me, people were forced to write with their right hand.
Yeah.
And so he and the other lefty that's famous for signing with his right hand is Stan Musial, who was also forced as a child to write with his right hand. So anyway, Steve Carlton inducted into the Hall of Fame with Phil Rizzuto, which is cool.
Yep.
More office. So the home plate shaped item up on the top right there.
Mm-hmm. Barnwood Sports.
Okay.
Found him on either Instagram or Twitter. He does quite a bit for different major league teams. And he also does them for like the Hall of Fame. He'll do colleges. And then I reached out and asked him to do a Rizzuto. So he did.
Some of these items we'll have close-ups of, but that one, that one struck me because it's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's a good solid piece of wood.
Oh, it's made of wood. Okay.
It's wood. Yeah, it's really nice.
So back to close-ups. The one on the right is a baseball style sneaker that Phil signed.
Mm-hmm.
What's the story behind that guy?
I just liked that it was a baseball sneaker, and I thought it would be kind of fun to have him sign it, and he got a kick out of it. I still have the other one in the box. If you would like it signed by somebody, I can send it to you. I just liked it because it was unique. It was different. It wasn't a baseball. It was a baseball sneaker.
Yeah, it's and then the left, there's a story behind the ball on the left.
Yeah, so Phil has said this many times, and it's actually in the Hall of Fame program. that the toughest pitcher he ever faced was Bob Feller. So at the induction weekend, Feller was there signing because a lot of Hall of Famers are there. And I asked him I wrote it on an index card and I said, would you mind signing this? And he read it and he looked at me and he said, did he really say this? And I said, yeah, it's in the Hall of Fame program too. And he went, okay. And he wrote the toughest pitcher Phil Rizzuto ever faced, Bob Feller. And to the right, he wrote, he said it. And then, of course, I saw Phil later that weekend because he was doing shows in Cooperstown. And he said, yes, I said it. And holy cow, he was, I said it. So.
Oh, that is great.
I just wanted it different than just a regular autograph on a ball. I just wanted it to be unique. So.
Yeah, no, that's the thing about it is that it's unique, 2 Hall of Famers, and there's a great story behind it. So, like, the one of a kind item, clearly. So Phil did a lot of advertising over the years, and you have a lot of it. And these 2 are both signed, which is cool. What are we looking at here?
They were ads. When you went to shows in the New York area, the big shows, a lot of the dealers back then, now it's more like all new cards, but they would have sections of just newspapers or advertisements, and you could like go through the box and they would mark, oh, here's Mantle, here's Berra. And I was always looking for Rizzutos and I would buy them. And then, before, like I said, before he was in the Hall of Fame, his autograph was $7. And I would buy, he'd do a show at a high school gym or at a small card show at a mall. And I'd buy 10 tickets and I'd start taking all these ads in and he'd sign them all. He'd laugh when he saw them. I really love the one on the right because I'm pretty sure he's tagging out Jackie Robinson. So that one's framed and hanging, but.
Yeah, that's an amazing picture. Kudos to the photographer on that one. All right, so we got more ads.
More ads.
Edgeworth, is that a tobacco?
I think it's the tobacco, yes.
And then the double play champion model card on the right. I'm sorry, mitt on the right. And then in the middle, you talked about how Phil had to work in the off season in a men's clothing store. So there he is showing off
clothing.
What is it called? Calanese
Gallery of Champions.
Yeah. And then we got him signing some. Those are Wheaties ads.
Wheaties ads. There were a lot of different Wheaties ads, and I just thought they were all great. They reminded me of, back in the day when Topps would have little sketches on the back of the cards. So to me, it's kind of like in that genre of the little cartoons.
And he signed both of these. Okay, so we got on the left is the Phil Rizzuto Baseball Hero. Is that a book?
That's a comic book.
Comic book, okay.
And it was 10 cents back in the day.
Not anymore.
And the whole book is it's a comic book of Phil Rizzuto. And on the back, there's just a photograph.
Especially with the auto on it. It's definitely not 10 cents anymore. No. And then you got the Phil Scooter actual baseball with Yankees emblem on it.
And his stats are engraved on the little plaque.
Right.
And that's the oversized, I believe it's 9x12, the Dormant postcard.
Yeah. 1955, 56, I forget.
Something like that. And you don't see many of those.
Yeah, I was and they're mostly New York players. I was trying to get a hold of the Gil Hodges, but couldn't get it. And the Mantle is out there, but it's expensive. So more signatures.
Yes.
The left is advertising.
Yes.
So
the magazine on the right, and you're probably saying, how did you get Cora's autograph since she doesn't go to the stadium? But I worked at Rodale Press out of college. Again, Rodale's in Emmaus. And because I would bring him books, the cookbooks, the gardening books, I had said to him the one day, would you like to come up to Rodale and take a tour? Because back then, Rodale is no more, but they had the tree farm and the organic gardening farm. and it was a publishing house based in Emmaus. And he and Cora said yes, and they came up for the day. At that time, Bob Rodale had passed, but his wife was still alive, and she actually gave him a tour of the headquarters, the publishing headquarters. We went out to the tree farm. They gave him, books, gifts. We had lunch, and then he and Cora signed the Look magazine for me while they were there that day.
That's terrific. I don't know if you may be the only person to have a Cora Rizzuto autograph.
And I have two because she returned my wedding invitation with a handwritten letter.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
another Wheaties ad.
The scooter Wheaties ad, and then on the right, that's old. I mean,
that came out, I believe, either like a yearbook or one of the scorecards about getting tickets in Tampa. I just like the picture. He looked he was obviously older. He's retired, but he looked so young and vibrant and had such a great smile.
Well, he has that. He's always had that energy, that sort of positive energy. And it says, "Holy cow! Don't be left behind when the Yankees make their move to Tampa," which I assume was when they moved their spring training from Fort Lauderdale to the other side of Florida and the Steinbrenner complex in Tampa. I don't even know when that was. It's probably 80s.
Yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah. So Phil he's probably in his 70s at this point. So
yeah. And when he would go down to spring training, which is where he was when my wedding invitation was mailed, he would still do instructions for bunting.
Yeah.
With the current players. He was like a bunting instructor at spring training.
Well, they said about him is that he was the best bunter in the league when he was playing, and he may have been one of the best of all time. But he, in his later years, when bunting sort of went out of style, he kind of, regretted that that Major League wasn't really putting much emphasis on it anymore.
No.
That's the way baseball changed.
It changed. It's not small ball anymore. It's long ball.
Yeah, it's all homers and strikeouts.
Yep.
So here, this is Phil Rizzuto by Joe Trimble. Tell us the story here, because we got some special stuff on the right there.
I found the book at a card show, and it was signed by Joe Trimble to Billy. I don't know who Billy was, so I'm thinking the author, personalized to the person who bought the book, which of course then I thought, if I buy the book, I can have Phil sign the book. So I did. So there was no dust jacket. I'm sure it had a dust jacket back in the day. But I was just intrigued with it. I thought it was kind of unique.
With the author and the subject both signing the page.
Correct.
There. So it says Billy. What's Billy's last name? Can you make it out?
It looked like something with a C.
Like
Crowley? Crowley, Crowly. Yeah.
If that were my book, I would go on the internet and I would start Googling that person's name and try to
find him.
Try to find them. Although at this point, what's the publishing year of this? It's got to be like 50s, probably, right?
Yeah, it's in the 50s. So maybe Billy's family's still around.
Yeah. I found a card, a 1954 Bowman card with some kid wrote his name on the back, and I did a search, and I think I found him. And he's a guy in his 80s living in Indiana, and I mailed him the card, but it's no happy ending to the story, because I never heard from him. I said, I think this is your card from when you were a kid. And I was hoping to hear back with a story, but didn't hear back from him. The internet is great because you can trace down anybody these days. And I've heard of this happening on Facebook. Somebody told a story of having some kid's name on the back, and it's a fairly unique. And he found him in Florida and sent them the card, and they had a connection. And so that's the kind of stuff that I love. If Billy was still,
I'll try that for you and keep you posted.
Please. More book.
The
Scooter and the Phil Rizzuto story.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got this.
They're the best.
The October 12. What is that? 5 years of New York Yankees glory, 49 to 53.
So there were 12 players that were on all 5 teams. Those consecutive World Series teams, Phil, Yogi, and he wrote a book, because I don't think people are aware that there were 12 players continuously those 5 years.
Does not include DiMaggio, who retired after 51. Does
Mm-hmm.
not include Mantle, who didn't play until 51. But it does include Johnny Mize.
Yes. I think, I don't know if Joe Collins, I have it right over there. Let me grab it. Do you mind if I get up?
Please. I love trivia. We have a picture of all of them.
So, of course, it's Andrea's book, so of course it's signed. And let's see.
I think I see Hank Bauer in there.
Can you see close up? I'm trying to see. I think he did a chapter on everyone.
Let me see.
The introductions by Yogi. I'm trying to see who's all in here. Tommy Henrik, Mize. Talks about the minors. Bobby Brown. Yeah, he doesn't have a chapter for each player. I think Gil McDougall was in there as well. I'll review the book and let you know.
Well, I'll put a link to it down below, the book, and I'll do my own research for the 12.
And in true Rizzuto fashion, it's dedicated to Cora and to his mother.
Good for him. So the book on the right, I smiled when I saw that your photo you sent to me, because I bought that book when it came out, and it came out in the early 90s. I don't have it anymore because of a reason I don't want to get into. I lost some items, but anyway, it's mostly just transcripts from broadcasts of Phil Rizzuto. And it reads, I think I read it in one sitting.
Oh, yeah, because there's like 2 on a page.
It's not terribly thick either,
No.
but it's hilarious. And if you watch enough Yankees and you know Phil, you can, while you're reading it, you can hear him saying it. And that's what's beautiful about this book. It's like you're living your childhood and like your adolescent or whatever you were watching games, and you're living it, and you hear it and you think, and it's just hilarious. The person who edited it did a fantastic job. So it's called The Selected Verse, which is funny because it's just him, stream of consciousness off the top of his head in like, the 7th inning of a 13-1 game or whatever. He doesn't have much, but there's a few themes of it. One is he never called anybody by their first name, so his partners were always White and Messer.
White, Messer, Mercer.
Yeah, and Seaver later on, and he also he talked about the cannolis that he would eat. He would always give out, happy birthday, happy anniversary, personal.
He announced my wedding engagement, or I should say, my engagement. He did announce it on the air.
Oh,
and
that's
he referred to Emmaus, Pennsylvania, where you could still see the Amish riding in horse and buggy. So that was kind of funny. My parents recorded it because I was at the game.
Great. Oh, that's so great.
And the nice thing about the Oh Holy Cow book, all the proceeds were donated to the school, a school for the blind, I believe. So
Yes.
he didn't make any money off that book, which was kind of the Phil way.
Phil, I guess early in his career, he met a young man who had lost his sight through an accident, and he was affiliated with the St. Joseph School of the Blind, which is in New Jersey. And Phil gave money to them for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised to find out that the proceeds from this book went to that, because he did the golf tournament also.
Yes.
The regular golf tournament with all the proceeds going to St. Joseph's, and he didn't have to do that, but he did it over and over and over again, and that's the kind of person that he was. And when you want to be a super collector of a player, you want that player to be somebody who you're proud to have their items. And for you with Phil, I mean, to me it seems natural, and that's the kind of stuff you like to think about when you're collecting, because you personally, Andrea, are memorializing a person who deserves it, and that's wonderful.
He was a good person.
Yep, absolutely. Parade magazine with that same thing.
Parade.
And then Chesterfield. Oh, Phil, you're advertising
Yeah.
cigarettes. Oh,
That was the ad on the back of the dope book. He was on the cover.
uh-huh.
That was the back of the dope book.
And I guess cigarettes later on. In the 50s, it was understandable. So Yoo-Hoo, which is famous for being
Yogi.
right? Doing the Yoo-Hoo over the years. I remember the ads and the TV. He did commercials too. So Phil got in on the Yoo-Hoo action too there.
Yoo-Hoo's big in this area, the New York, regional area. And
Yep.
that was a store display. And it just happened to make its way home with me. But of course, I had Phil sign it because it was so. And I have the Yoo-Hoo card. It's behind me in the cigar box display.
Uh-huh.
It's one of those unique little regionals.
Yeah.
That
And then this
cool.
Perolator oil filter.
Yeah.
Did he
I
sign
can't envision Phil ever
What?
changing his own oil, so I thought that was kind of funny.
It's a cool car he's got there behind him.
Yeah.
Okay,
More Wheaties.
Another Wheaties ad. 1954, a Wheaties champion. Yes, they were not champions in 54, but they were. Was that 54 or 51? No, yeah, it's 54.
That says 54, and the photo on the right from 38.
Yeah. So Little Lulu, Marge's Little Lulu has a Phil Rizzuto page
On the back.
in the oh, it's on the back. Okay.
That's the back of the comic. Yeah, that's why I did a front and a back.
Okay. And then Walt Disney, that looks like Donald Duck and his little ducks.
Yep, front and back of the comic. Yeah.
And then we got this. I don't know what this is.
They're razor blades.
Okay. It looks. That's not Phil being kissed by two women there, is it? No.
No, I think it's his wife and his daughter.
Okay.
Like she must have been saying, "Oh, my wife yelled at me like an umpire because he had, the 5 o'clock shadow."
Okay.
And then at the end, he's clean shaven.
Oh. Let me see. Oh yeah, there he is. And then we got 2 records here.
Yeah, one is big, like a full album, and then the second was like the 45.
So that's Phil, Ralph Branca, Roy Campanella, and Tommy Heinrich.
Singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Oh, okay. So not specifically Phil items, but explain what we're looking at here.
These are old tin toy baseball games. My husband works for his parents. They own a company called Tin Toy Works, and they repair and restore antique tin toys. So over the years, when they would go to toy shows, these would either be Christmas gifts from my husband, anniversary, birthday. As he would come across what looked like baseball games, he would pick them up for me.
Nice. Yeah, these are clearly historical items with, sort of Americana aspect to them. What time frame are we talking about here?
Probably the 50s. Most of these baseball toys are from the 40s, maybe late 40s into the early 50s.
So basically,
One on the left, there's like a spinning thing in that red area, and you would push it and it would spin and it would tell you if you got a base hit, and then you would move the pegs, the right-hand side or the left-hand side around the board.
So these are all golden, basically golden era.
Yeah.
And there's a couple more. Let's see.
And these are all gifts over the years. This the little baseball is a little coin bank.
Uh-huh.
As is the one on the left. It's a bat. He swings, you put your penny in, and there's a little marble that goes with that, and he'll swing the bat and hit it. And then the one on the far right is like a thin plastic. I forget if they called it like a cellophane. They're very easy to get crushed. And then the 2 little monkeys on the back, you could wind them up. Their tails will spin, and one will flip the ball, and the other swings the bat.
Oh, that's great.
To give you an idea for Tin Toy Works, if, say, the mechanisms don't work anymore, but you want them to work, my father-in-law and my husband will take that toy and repair or replace the mechanism. Or if if the batter was missing his bat, like the monkey that's holding the bat,
Right.
they would make the part so that your toy would then be complete again.
Oh yeah, we talked about this one. So
The Viewmaster.
the Viewmaster.
The Viewmaster.
Let our viewers know the players that are listed on the Viewmaster.
So on the Viewmaster, number one, it starts with Al Rosen. It goes to Phil Rizzuto. It goes to Jackie Jensen, to Preacher Rowe, to Whitey Lockman, Minnie Minosa, Yogi Berra, and then it ends with Yogi, and you pop it into the Viewmaster, and you can look at each player like a color photo of them in action.
In action, right.
Baseball Stars of the Major Leagues, disc number 1.
So I thought Rosen won the MVP in 53. All those guys sort of date. Preacher Rowe is kind of done by like 55. So it's got to be probably 52, 53, 54 time range.
Yeah. Viewmaster reel.
Yeah. So you got the packaging, that green picture art.
The little pamphlet came later.
Right.
I can't remember if it was Stacy from Passionate Baseball sent it, but one of the Twitter collecting friends came across it and reached out to me and said, "Oh, I think you need this for your collection." So it was a random act of kindness that found its way into my collection.
One of my favorite things that comes out of Twitter baseball fandom. So good for you on that. Okay, so this is Rick Carlson. Did you connect with him on Twitter? Or is that?
It was either Twitter or Instagram.
Okay.
I'm thinking it might have been Twitter, but he does commissioned one-to-one art cards. And I reached out to him for the Phil. So he actually put a little video clip up when he was drawing it out. And then there's the finished item here in my office.
Yeah, I'll link below for for Rick if you.
Oh, he does phenomenal work. He's really, really good.
Yeah, some of these artists, we have multiple artists in the hobby doing amazing work, so I like to give them a little shout out when I see their work. Okay, so the one on the left is also custom made, and you can see up here the bottom of customs that I had made by this gentleman, David Cigar Box Cards, on Twitter, and I'll link to him also. He did for me Ebbets Field, which is where I put my Dodger cards, and he did Mantle, which is where I put obviously my Mantle cards. But in this one, he gave you a customized Phil, which is terrific.
With a Wheaties ad, which is very appropriate for me.
Yeah. Did David do all the Wheaties art on that?
No, I think he took the one of the Wheaties comic book backs and enlarged it for the background. Yeah. And then he took the facade.
One thing I should say about this is that he does use recycled wood when he does these. So this is custom art made in a environmental.
Yeah, he'll ask you like if you want it horizontal, if you want it vertical.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, I had him do a New York Knicks one for my son, and it's actually got like hardwood from a basketball court in the background.
Nice.
And I think they're 1970 Knicks cards that are in it, and then a Knicks emblem. And it was custom. He made it specifically for me.
Part one of this series of the Phil Rizzuto, we went over baseball cards, and I see some cards in here that I didn't get to profile in part one.
Oh, they're there.
I see the 55 Bowman, of course, is at the top.
Yeah, and the TV set ones.
Yeah. And then the bottom right is 53 Topps.
That's the reprint.
Oh, it's a reprint. Okay.
It's that one's a reprint, yeah.
Now, on the left is the Yoo-Hoo. We saw the Yoo-Hoo before, so you also have a cutout, a hand cut of the Yoo-Hoo. So I have done something which you've done better for David here, because I put so many cards in mine that you can hardly ever see the background of it. So,
Oh yeah, I love the background, so I try to keep it open. And what's nice is you could change what you put in the display.
yes. And then we have two art pieces. Both
Yes.
signed, at least the middle one signed by Phil. I don't know what the right signed by Phil.
No, neither of those are signed by Phil,
Oh,
because they're recent acquisitions. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, which may lead to why I have an inclination to hanging artwork of Phil in my office.
right.
That's from Triple Play Design, and
Okay.
I just love them. But they're both signed by Eric. He is Triple Play Design. I actually have 3 pieces now by him in the office because I just like his style.
Yeah, that one where he's turning the double play is a fantastic
And it
piece.
looks like the 52 Wheaties design,
Yes.
the orange background.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Nope, that's okay.
And then so this now that is signed by Phil.
It was signed by Phil. First, I got it as a wedding gift, so it was not signed by Phil, from my friend Pete, who sat with Phil at the wedding.
Right.
And he had picked this up in New York. It's signed by Andy Jarinko, the artist.
Right.
And even though Phil was finished playing in 1956, I just liked the image of the old Yankee Stadium as if you were sitting there.
Yep.
And I figured it's signed by the artist. I had it for a couple of years, and then I had Phil sign it, of course, and hung it in my office.
Yeah, just an amazing photo. Just you can feel like you're in the.
It's actually a painting. It's a lithograph.
What? Are you
That's
serious?
a painting. Andy Jarenko was a minimalist painter.
Oh my God.
So, and his studio was down by the World Trade Center. It was actually like heavily damaged on 9/11. But that's a painting. It's a lithograph of his painting.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's an amazing gift.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for a person who knows you, and also just a piece of art. Worcester Street is not too far from where I am right now, so
Yeah.
I haven't never been to 80 Worcester. I don't know, maybe I have. I don't know, but
I don't know if the studio's still there. Thankfully, some of his originals were in storage and weren't damaged.
right. So we have. I think this is it.
It's my last piece. That was my most recent acquisition. I follow James Fiorentino on Twitter and Instagram. He is a phenomenal baseball and wildlife artist. He does a lot of work for Major League Baseball, the Hall of Fame. He's doing, I think is it Darryl Strawberry that just retired with the Mets? They just did his number. It was either Doc Gooden or I think it's Doc.
Both.
So he's doing the artwork for the Mets for that. And he had this piece on his website. And it's an artist print, 5 of 10. And it was signed by Rizzuto. And I thought, wow, this would be phenomenal. I love it. It's exquisite. So it's signed by both James and the Scooter, which it's amazing. I love it.
This is the last slide, and I felt like this was a good way to end because, yeah, like you just said. I mean, there's no more words that I could express to say how amazing this piece is. It's not just that, you know, the artwork of it is, but it's just sort of like Phil in Yankee Stadium, sitting on the steps of the dugout, looking out towards the field, and it's just, to me, it kind of encapsulates so many things that are special about being a Yankee fan, being a Yankee historical person who is into the history of the Yankees, particularly Phil Rizzuto, who we've talked about over these last 2 shows, as a special human being beyond being, you know, a lifetime Yankee, both as a Hall of Fame player and as a Hall of Fame announcer. So I felt like this was like the perfect item to finish this series on. And Andrea, I just wanted to thank you so much. I know we've been going back and forth on this because of the nature of the depth of your collection. There were items that you sent me that I wasn't able to fit into the slideshow. There's so much here. And like I was joking about the cards, when we went over the cards, there are cards that we saw here that weren't in the cards. So it's a remarkable collection. You personally are a remarkable human being.
Thank you.
And so it's my honor. It's literally my honor to have you on the show. Not just to show the collection, but to show life. What the things that you've collected over the years aren't just items; they're pieces of a person's life, and
Yeah, they're
that's the
memories.
same thing I like to talk about my collection. You know, connecting to your family, connecting to your life, things that are important to you, things that speak to you. And so this collection, you know, not only is it awesome on so many different levels, but it spoke to me also. And that to me was special, that I got to think about things that I experienced in my life through baseball, through history, through New York, through particularly Phil Rizzuto, whose voice will forever be in my head. So,
Holy cow.
so any parting words for my viewers who were fortunate to be able to watch this?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for loving baseball. It's a passion, and it's best shared by friends. I met Dan through Stacy, and can't think of a better hobby to connect with friends from all different aspects of life. So that would be it.
Okay. Andrea, we're going to say goodbye. And viewers, we will see you back here next Saturday. And I can't promise it's going to be as special as this, but
Thank you.
keep hanging on and keep watching baseball. And Andrea, again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.